The LYB podcast is sponsored by Fight Energy. Fight Energy is your all-in-one health drink. You have nootropics, 0 calories, 125 milligrams of caffeine, as well as your daily dose of vitamins to keep you feeling your best. You can order Fight at danityfitness.com. Make sure you use code LYB for 25% off. And we're even going to throw in some travel packs for any purchase. And let us know, are you team strawberry or team blueberry? And when you drink Fight, make sure to tag Danity Fitness 1 on socials to share. Hey everyone, welcome to the LYB podcast. On today's episode, we have professional strongman Adam Derks. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. We've only met the one time, but I had followed you on Instagram before and kind of had seen, you lifted and stuff like that, especially when I was doing strongman competitions. And I just want to hear all the things. Like, tell everybody. I have so many questions. I'm so excited. But tell everybody, like, who you are, where you're from, and what brought you to Nashville.
I'm Adam Derks, professional strongman.
Yeah.
I started competing when I was 13, so 2007. Give or take. I'm from Appleton, Wisconsin, and I moved here in Nashville in 2022.
Okay. That's awesome. What brought you down, though?
So I actually used to work for a family company in manufacturing, so we'd weld stuff, basically make anything out of steel. Whatever you could think of, I could build it.
Okay.
Did that for the longest time. And I was out in Denver competing. I actually just set a world record in the Atlas Stones.
Heck
and me and my friends, we were sitting at a table eating Shake Shack.
Of course.
And these two guys, they had traveled. They just kind of train clients online, and they just travel the world. That's what they do.
Okay.
And I had told them, I'm like, guys, I'm super jealous of this. And they kind of put me on the spot, and they're like, Adam, you've done everything that you've ever set out to do. Why don't you just do it? Okay. And after he said that, I'm like, shit. So I went home and I put my 2 weeks in and came to Nashville.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so those, well, first I want to know, what was the world record? What was the Atlas Stone?
502 or 503.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because y'all have that at the training space that you're at now, right? You have those out back. So
Yep.
what are they go all the way up to that?
It goes up to the biggest one's 595.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I love
Yeah.
it. Sounds like a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah. I think the most I ever did, I don't even know, man. Because sometimes, like, when I look back at stuff, and we'll talk about this too, like, when I look back and reflect, I'm like, are those numbers real? Like, did I do that? Like, I'm like, did I walk with, like, a 485 yoke on my back?
Yeah.
Was that a real thing? And then I have to, like, go back and be like, oh my gosh, yeah. Thank goodness I posted every single thing I ever did, because I just am like, I can't even comprehend it sometimes.
It's a lot of work to do it.
Yeah. And so what, like, so I guess, you say you started competing when you were like 13 and like just in strength sports?
Powerlifting.
Okay.
Powerlifting. I wrestled up until that point.
Okay.
My brother, he was a powerlifter, and brother-in-laws, everybody did powerlifting. My dad even did it.
Okay.
So it's kind of in our family to do it. So I started at that. And then I already started dabbling into strongman at that point, but more so just sitting back and learning.
Okay.
But I just did the powerlifting, and then as soon as I was like 15, I think I did my first strongman competition.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was local in Wisconsin, or you? Okay.
Yeah, no, in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
So, do you find that is like a normal transition from like powerlifting to strongman for people?
Yeah, that is a pretty normal transition.
Okay.
I feel like that it's almost kind of best scenario. If I could look back on it, I wish I had an Olympic background when I was that age.
Okay.
And the powerlifting before strongman. If I could perfect it, that would probably be a better route that I would have picked.
Okay. Gotcha.
But I'm not mad about it. So
Yeah, for sure. So then when so you started competing at that age, and then when you got into strongman, was it like, because I really don't know with your backstory, like, did you just like excel and was like exceptional at a young age, or was it one of those things you like worked and you didn't like place first a lot, or how was that?
So obviously that was a young age. Back then, they didn't even they had one weight class, and that was the 105 kilo weight class, 231 and under and over. That was it.
What?
That was the only classes they had at the time.
Okay.
So I went into the 231, and I think I was like 150 pounds, 160 pounds maybe.
So a little discrepancy there.
Yeah, and I placed mid-pack right in the middle. I didn't zero anything. I had fun. My brothers were already professionals at the time.
In strongman or just?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I kind of I was able to excel more so because they kind of paved the way for me.
Yeah.
So I just kind of learned from them.
That's awesome. Much older are they? And
About 7 years to 12 years, depending.
okay, and then so you have two, or
So I have a brother that's 7 years older than me, and his brother-in-laws, all three of them, are a little bit older than him, and they're all professionals as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's like the lottery, I feel like, because that's awesome. Because I feel like when I've talked to, I've had Matt on here, and, we didn't have anybody around that was ever doing strongman. You know what I mean? Like that was not a really well-known thing here. And so, when we look at how much it's even grown, that's
huge,
right?
Huge growth.
And it's been really crazy because, I mean, I love watching the girls part of it too, and all of them coming up in it and everything. And so, so in terms of like when you came here, did you find that, with the strongman community, was it like welcoming to you? Because, I've been out of it for a couple years now because of my injury and stuff. So like, did you feel like it was welcoming? Did you feel like it was something you had to start over? Like,
I feel like the strongman community as a whole is very welcoming.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's unwelcoming anywhere, in my opinion, which is kind of a good thing to say.
For sure.
I don't think it's like that for every sport.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely not. Again, I'm not always trying to hate on bodybuilding, okay? It's not the theme of my life. I really enjoyed it. I had Colin on and we talked about all the positives and whatever. But yeah, some of them are not as welcoming for sure. So then in terms of, so like when you came here, so you were, okay, so at that point you were already a pro, right? So what age did you go pro?
Like 22.
Okay.
21, something like that.
All right, so you did it for about 7 years, and then and became a pro. And so, will you explain to them in strongman how you become a pro, like for like your weight classes like that? Like,
there's really no direct way nowadays. There used to be more of a clear path, but nowadays there's really no clear path for any of that. And to be honest, nowadays it doesn't really matter whether you have that pro status or not.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah. So like the route now to go to like World's Strongest Man is you sign up or qualify for official strongman games.
Yeah.
Place top 3 at official strongman games will get you an invite to Giants Live.
Okay.
And then podium at Giants Live.
Yeah.
And then you go to World's Strongest Man.
Okay.
So you don't need to go any other path besides that one right now.
See, because the only path that we knew of starting out was with Strongman Corporation.
Yep.
And so it was like you go to a show, whatever, you go to a competition, and then you place first and second, also would qualify for nationals, and then go to nationals. And then it was like weird because sometimes it was like 10% will go, and it was like 8%. It was like 6.2%. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't with this. Like, am I getting in or am I not? So, but I qualified 3 times, but I went twice, and like kind of the middle of the pack, and felt really successful with that because I was very, early on getting into it. But I was just like, okay, if I do this and then I get to nationals and then I qualify there, then I can go. So that was the only path I ever saw, forward. And so it was very, what's the word? Like, not discouraging, but you kind of start to see the same people and you're like, shoot, like they're coming in, like, like they're on steroids or they're not. And you kind of knew like how it was going to go.
Right.
So I love that they kind of have now different ways. And I think you can also like do, what is it, like submitting online too? Like you can.
Yep. To get into official strongman games, they've been doing an online qualifier.
Okay.
Just for the people that, because you got to pay. I mean, it's expensive to travel to these shows.
Right.
So they do an online one for that as well.
Yeah, we always would joke about how it was a very expensive hobby.
Yeah.
Right.
Super expensive.
Like people don't realize that.
No. And back then we had to have all your own equipment because you couldn't find it in any gym.
Yep.
So on top of that, so there's a lot of cost into it.
I was meeting up with people like from Facebook Marketplace. Like literally like Blake and they were like, hey, go pick up like this keg. And I'm like, cool. Like this sounds like it's gonna go really well. Like they're like, well, you're the most like welcoming. And I'm like, I'm the most likely to get kidnapped, probably.
I couldn't tell you how many kegs we've gotten off of Marketplace.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's so funny. And then with the stones, it's so hilarious to me when people are like, oh, yeah, so we're going to Olympus. Do you know that place? I'm like, bruh, we're the ones that got the stones out of the back it was just sitting there for years, like in this closet. Like, we like went out and like, years ago. And me and Matt would work out like 5 a.m.
Right.
Go down to Murfreesboro and just like do some Atlas stones over the bar, like stone over bar. And, because that was all we could find.
Right.
We go to Kentucky. We had a friend up there who had a gym. And on a random Saturday and stuff. I mean, we literally would find any place. So that's why, like, I mentioned this on the podcast before, but I was like, I went to this random warehouse to come lift. And that was because you asked, you were like, hey, what are you doing after this workout? I'm like, well, I really needed to do deadlifts, but that wasn't the vibe that day.
No,
you know?
definitely was not.
Because I just didn't know. I had no
same.
clue. And I kind of
Same.
saved, for like, okay, I could be open to anything. But I was like, but I really need to hit deadlifts.
Yeah.
So when you said that's what you were working on that day, I was like, oh, man, that'd be so perfect. And then you literally like, hey, do you want to come to this like random warehouse? I'm like, sure, I'll follow you and Riley up there. Like, don't know you guys, but that sounds great. And I had the best time.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was super chill.
Yeah. Everybody that we're around is super chill, easygoing.
Yeah. And what I really appreciated, because like, especially when I first was starting and doing strongman, like it wasn't, again, I have such fond memories and it was beautiful time and everything like that, but it was a different environment. And it was very much like you go for broke, like we're constantly going to push, whatever. Right. Which again, there's a time and a place.
Yep.
Not every time.
Nope.
Right. So for me, especially like having my back stuff and like and the injury that I have and everything, I have to be like super mindful, because if I do one wrong thing, I'm down for the count for like a month and can't feel my leg,
Right.
just really uncomfortable,
Right.
whatever. So with deadlifts, I try to be very mindful, and also after strongman did bodybuilding, so I got more into like volume anyway. So I was never really doing maxes or anything. So the most I had done right before the end of the year was like 315. And I was like, let me just do all the plates in the LYB, right? Felt good about it, did a couple times, whatever. And then when y'all were doing it, it was just like, you were like, here, we'll put the plates on it. It was like going with the guys again. And I felt literally like I was back in 2019, 2018.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like I was like, man, this is so cool. And y'all were very supportive. And it wasn't like, oh, go again. Like another one, or like, let's put on plate, and I was like, thank you so much. Because again, I still would have been able to stand my ground, but it's always super annoying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're like, I know, but like, let me just like be good with it.
Yeah.
And like, that's enough. I don't have to show out. I don't have to like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think that's the maturity in us, because we've been doing it for so many years.
that was the difference.
Younger me would have been like, let's load it up.
Yeah. But that's what was so cool, because I was like looking around and I didn't know at the time, because I didn't know a couple of the other people there, but I remember Evan. I've seen him on strongman stuff all the time, so I knew I was like professional. You pro, and then I didn't know Trevor was also a pro. Okay, so that was cool. So he, him, and then so it was just like I said, I'm like, wow, this is what it's like to lift with professionals.
Right.
This is really cool. So, and Matt said he had a good time, like when he is gone and stuff too.
Oh yeah.
So that was like, I trust his judgment and everything. But no, y'all are super cool, super welcoming. But you usually do this on Saturdays, like strongman. Saturdays.
Get together if we can on Saturdays. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you have clients who will be competing in the Arnold, and do they also do like Olympia as well? Is there anything with that, or
no, not the Olympia.
Okay.
I think they do have a smaller strongman competition that goes on,
but not the
not like a big one.
Okay.
No.
And then what would be the other stuff besides the Arnold coming up? Like what else is there?
World's Strongest Man.
Yes. What is that?
That's going to be out in Sacramento. Forget which weekend in May it is. So we'll be out there for a little while.
Okay.
After that, the next big one will probably be the Shaw Classic.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the Rogue Invitational.
Oh, nice. Where's the Rogue at?
I don't think they
haven't announced it yet.
I don't think they announce it, but I think it might be in Scotland again.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, when you decided, because getting back to kind of with your story, you said that these guys tell you, okay, to go for it, right? Like, go for your dreams. And so when you were like looking at that and like, you left your job, what were the struggles? Like, how was it? Because
honestly, it was a lot easier than I thought.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I tell myself every day that I wish I had the balls to do it like 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of the younger people that I talk to that want that kind of lifestyle, like I push on them to do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, because I wish I would have did it a long time ago, because it's not hard.
Yeah.
It's really not.
So, and explain.
It's just scary, I think, for everybody to go against the normal.
Because you feel
like the normal. I was brought up like 9 to 5. You buy a house and you have a family, and which sounds great, but I didn't want to work for anybody. I want to do my own thing.
Right. So do you feel like it was, for someone listening that maybe is like, oh, I would love to do that, and I would love to, because what you're explaining is like you do like online training and in-person training, and you work for yourself, and so is it all strongman training, or is it like gen pop?
General fitness, anything.
Okay.
Powerlifting, strongman.
So do you feel like you were able to get more in the door with strongman competitors because you were already a pro?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I definitely, a lot of people sought me for the coach position because of how small I was versus the athletes I was competing against and the weight that I could do. So I had to perfect the technique so good to beat the guys that are twice my size.
Okay, yeah. For those who are listening, like I was like, or for who are watching, like I would never consider you small. So but I guess because you go against like was it 231 you said, right?
That was I just did that as after I was done competing at World's Strongest Man. I cut some body weight a little bit, and then I did some of the records on the 105. But my whole career going up, I never really stopped. I just kind of like stayed focused on the heavyweight.
Okay.
World's Strongest Man.
Okay, because I guess for everyone listening, like how heavy do the guys get? Like,
so the year I competed at Worlds, the average guy was 6'3", 360 body weight.
Okay.
I was 6 foot, 270.
I was about to say, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So I mean, they got like 90 pounds, right,
a
on
lot.
you.
Yeah.
So people saw you as more of like, I guess more of the like fit build, because I think when people imagine the strongman guys like and everything, we're thinking like the big belly, like you know what I mean, like the huge, just like stacked. So like you seemed more agile, more athletic.
Right.
Okay. And do you attribute that because you've just always been in strength training, like you've been doing this for so long?
Yeah, my metabolism's so fast,
Yeah.
and I actually, I mean, I like the off-season bodybuilder look over the, the higher body fat.
Yeah.
Percentage look. So that's kind of what I went with.
Okay, nice. Okay, so then from there, when you started, because that was 2022, you said, when you started coaching like full time?
Yep.
Okay. And
Yeah, we had online started before that already,
Okay.
just because people wanted it.
Gotcha.
But I never took the full leap over to full time.
Okay. And so you come in here, and so you're like, okay, Nashville, new city. Had you been here before?
Nope.
Or okay, so
Nope.
why Nashville?
Honestly, it just kind of checked all the boxes. I kind of had a few boxes in a few different areas, and this was kind of the one that it narrowed down to.
Okay, cool. So then, what area do you live in? What do you?
Thompson Station, so just a little bit south of Nashville, not far.
Okay, cool. So you come in, so you're like new city. You got this, I mean, full time now. So was there any reservation, or were you just like, I'm not gonna like this is it?
That's it. No, I had none.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so, when you got here, were you like, because I always find it so interesting, like I said, because like Matt was the same way. Like they came, from the north, and like just, come to Nashville and got asked, or there was an opportunity or whatever. And so I find it so intriguing. But so when you were here, do you feel like you, like the group that you have now, with strongman and stuff, like, do you feel like it's continually growing? Do you feel like it's like this like main crew that you have?
It's just like a main crew.
Yeah.
If it grows, it grows. But we kind of have a small niche of people that, and we don't want that disrupted by anything. We don't need any of that drama in our life. So we just kind of stick to ourselves.
I'm sorry, I can't. It's just great. Oh, but I get it. But no, so what is something like for someone who wants to go pro, right? Like, would you say just continue to keep like what helped you go pro? Like, what was the big moment like for you?
So for me, it was, so when I was younger, coming up, I had said that my brothers and the brother-in-laws, they were all professional already. So Jason, the older one, he was actually, his first year at World's Strongest Man was in 2008. So Brian Shaw would come over, and Dave Oslin, a few of them guys, they would come over to our gym. So I got to kind of be around that group from such a young age that when you're around that, like now that's kind of like your superhero, right? Like that's the only thing you see. So I think what happened was, for the longest time, that's all I saw. That's all I was around.
Yeah.
The weights that they moved, that's where my eyes were kind of set.
Right.
So I never looked at the 105 class. I never looked at the nationals. I never looked at anything else except how do I get to that competition to where these guys are going. And that's just kind of how I put my head down the whole time for years and just kept on going.
I love that. Because again, it goes back to those people that you're around, right? And just soaking all that in.
Huge on that. You surround yourself with the right people.
Yes. And so when you were oh man, that's so cool. I love that you got to be in that environment. So but like, did you ever feel like when you were younger, because you weren't on a typical path of like football or basketball or whatever, like did you feel kind of outcasted with that, or was it just like because you had your brother, you're like, I'm good? Like
I mean, I wasn't outcasted. It's not like I got like picked on at school or anything like that. And honestly, like majority of my friends were pretty supportive. Like they would go out and drink and do all the stuff.
Yeah.
And they they would always ask me, but they already knew the answer was going to be I either had to milk cows in the morning and I had to train after,
Right.
or I just have to be up early to work.
knew
You know,
that-
so
yeah.
they kind of knew how I worked.
Yeah.
So honestly, I had decent support in that regard.
Okay, I love that. And then were you so like working out with them? Because I know that we had talked. You said something at the workout about like that you never want to tell someone to not dream big because you feel like
I was told for a lot of years that you're too small, you're not going to be able to do it, you're wasting your time, why are you still doing it, this, that, and other. And I made it. So I feel like if anybody says something crazy, like, hey, I want to go do this, I'm the last person that's going to shut it down.
Right.
I can't shut that down.
Yeah, no, and I think that that's beautiful, and like, you shouldn't, you know. Do you ever find though, like, is it? I mean, it's a hard line though too, because like for example, I don't train.
Yeah, there's
like,
realistic goals, you know.
right. Yeah.
And you know, but I still try not to, you know, shit on it at all. I'm gonna encourage them the best I can.
I love that for sure. So then, with that, like, are you? You know, are you, like right now with your athletes, do you have like, are they other professionals? Or are they like on the road to be professionals? Or are they like,
I got them from everybody. Yeah. I got people that have never even lifted a weight to now they're competing at nationals.
Yeah.
I have professional athletes at the highest level, at the lowest level.
Yeah.
70-year-old athletes. I have everything.
Okay, that's awesome. And you train out of Gunner's Spot.
Yep.
In Franklin, which is cool. And then do you find that you have majority online or majority in person, or?
I try to split it right in the middle.
Okay.
I don't ever want to burn out on either end of that.
I see. Yeah.
So I try to keep a half schedule for in person and a half for online.
I love that. So what's something, because I know, so, and actually you're, I mean, you're a dad. Yeah.
Yep.
You just had a little girl.
Yep.
Right?
Rosalie.
Okay. Rosalie. Okay.
Yep.
And how old is she?
9 months.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
So how has that been? Like,
Honestly, amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The Riley takes care of the sleep portion of it. So thankfully
Great.
my sleep hasn't been really disrupted.
Okay.
But other than that, she's great. She's an easy baby. She's perfect.
Oh, okay. Well, that's awesome. I love that. So had you seen yourself like with, you know, coming here, strongman, because really your life was like eat, breathe, sleep, gym, right?
Yep.
Like, and you know, in that regard, had you always wanted to be a dad, or was it like you saw yourself, you know, getting married, like all that stuff? Like,
Honestly, I didn't know at the time. Like when I was competing, like I was just so blinded by the goal. And I sacrificed a lot of things probably that I shouldn't have sacrificed, but I did it. But it was all to kind of reach that goal. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand the sacrifice on what goes into becoming a professional in any sport.
right.
They just want the goal and they don't really understand how much goes into succeeding in that goal.
Oh, for sure. And that's the biggest thing too, is like, you know, of that being realistic with certain things. Like it's such a fine line, because I do believe, I mean, like one of my slogans, like I wear it every day, is fight for what you want. Right. And that just means, what goal is it? Now let's fight for it, you know? And so it's just like, it is that, but I do feel like coaches have such a responsibility to like guide and you know what I mean? And nurture that. And like with Matt, I mean, he sat here and like I said, trained me for years, and he literally was like, if you want to get back in it, like, let's do it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, he believes like anything's possible.
Anything is.
And that's where, and he was like one of the first people for me that ever looked at me in this town and was like, you know, you're really strong, right? And I was like, I mean, I thought I was, but like everybody's handing me 10-pound weights everywhere I go.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And just judging off like appearance and stuff. And he was like, no, I think you should like try this out. And I was like, oh man. So it just took one person suggesting, you know, something super random of like, oh yeah, let me
go lift this.
Yeah, like let me go pick up some stones and be bruised. I mean, I looked like I was beaten for like years. Like I literally had bruises over me, and I like lifted up. I'm like, hey, did you like see this? Like, oh man, look at my hands, are all tore up. Like it was so funny. And I think so fondly on that. I'm like looking at your shins right now, like saying with the deadlifts, like and just ripping it. Yeah. And it was just part of it. But it is like, it always has such a special place in my heart, because it is such a weird sport. Like it's so weird, but it's so beautiful, because it's like anybody literally can do it, you know? And then again, you say like with the whole becoming a pro in anything, there's so much sacrifice. And what do you think, you know, do you feel like with you and having those like idols like close to you, right? Like people always talk about when they go to like Venice Beach and they saw like Arnold there, or they saw someone like, you know, and around. Like, did you want to become them, or were you pretty like grounded in like, I'm Adam, I have this goal?
Yeah, definitely my own self for sure. Okay. Yeah, I just kind of use them for inspiration to get to my best self.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like I knew I wasn't going to win World's Strongest Man. I could never become Brian Shaw and win 4 titles.
Yeah.
I understand the size and all of that,
Yeah.
but I know I could be a contender. So.
Yeah. So you have a couple records, you said. So
Yep.
the Atlas Stone.
So the Atlas Stone is still a standing world record.
Nice.
And then after Worlds, when I kind of stopped competing, I dropped a little bit of body weight. Okay. Went down to like 260, and then I did a water cut down to the 231. And then I said, at the time, it was the world record deadlift.
Yeah.
It's been broken now.
Okay. What was it?
400 and some kilos. It was like 885.
Okay. I was about to say, I love a good deadlift. So that's fantastic.
It was supposed to be higher. It was supposed to be in like 920s, 930s. But that was my opener. I ended up tweaking my hamstring a little bit.
Yeah.
So I kind of just stopped there.
Right.
And the water cut was horrible. So I think that was
100%.
part of it.
Yeah, because that's like what, 30
It
pounds?
did. So we kind of perfected it for the next record, and it went a lot smoother. That was just the first trial at a 30-pound weight cut, and it did not go good.
Jeez, yeah, that sounds awful. And for those listening, like, highly don't recommend.
No, definitely not.
I remember
Definitely
the most
not.
I ever had to go down was like, I think like 8 pounds, and I was in the sauna. For like hours. Like I would step out for 30 seconds, come back in. Like I would like, it was a whole thing, and it was just not the vibe. Oh my gosh. People try to talk to me. They like recognize me, or they say something, and I'm like, Like I'm like trying to like not throw up. Like I was like, no, leave me alone. You know, at this point my phone's too hot. It's out there. I have no music. I'm like going crazy. Like, oh my gosh. But
weight cuts are never fun.
Yeah, no. I literally, when I went to West Virginia, for like the strongest man, the forest, or whatever that competition was, I was 4 pounds up, and then by that morning I was still 3 pounds up. And I remember this like it was yesterday. There was no sauna in West Virginia apparently, like no gym had one. So I literally go downstairs to the hotel. I put on like 4 layers of clothes. I started doing like burpees. I'm like running in place, like I'm trying to figure, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I get it back up. I go up to weigh on the scale, and it was like 182 still, and I'm like, I'm screwed. I got 2 hours before this weigh-in. And so I was like, I got to give up. And so I got to lay on the bed, and I'm just sitting there like, what else can I do?
I watched a girl cut her hair once.
See, like, that's crazy. Nah, I ain't cut this hair. Like, I wasn't that committed. Like, this was going to be my second comp. So the first one I had already won with Matt, but I wanted to qualify for nationals to go with him and Blake and all them. And so I was like, I want to be included, And so I went up there with Blake and his ex-wife, and I'm sitting there, and like they're asleep still, whatever. And I remember just being like, I looked down at my band, and it said "Fight for what you want," and I was like, we're not done. Get back up. So I go downstairs. It's like near Halloween. So I've turned on Thriller, of course, remix. And I get on the treadmill and I run a 5K. So I do 3 miles. And then I was like, I'm going to stay in this like hot, disgusting, outfit I have on. And so I get there. And like Mauser's wife ends up, she takes me because I'm the first female there. So all the men are doing the old school way. And I was like, that scale's going to be awful for me. So I was like, let me get on a digital one, whatever. But anyway, I was like, what can I like strip off? And she was like, just have to like keep your underwear on. Cool. So I was like, great, let's do it. So I'm standing there, and she literally was like, this happens a lot to girls or whatever. And I was like I'm still up, right? Anyway, I looked down, and it said 180.4, and that's what I had to be. Yeah. And I was like, let's freaking go. I remember I smashed a blueberry Pop-Tart right after that. Like I was so hungry, like had like nothing the day before, very little food, whatever. And I just remember being like, this is everything. Like it was so fulfilling. Yeah. Even though it sucked.
It's like its own competition before the competition.
100%.
To make that weight.
Yes, because this was when it was like the same day. So I didn't even have a day to like recoup and like feel better or whatever. I wanted to ask you, what is one of your like top like shows you've done, top comp, like that you have a memory kind of like that?
Man. There's a lot of them.
I was about to say probably all of them. Like
there's a lot of them. I honestly couldn't pick one. I honestly could not pick one. Every one of them kind of has its own moment, I guess. One that sticks out a lot was one that I did when I was an amateur.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening and subscribing to the LYB podcast. If you ever have any questions about wanting to train with Danny Fitness or getting your movement in, please feel free to reach out to Danny at dannyfitness.com, as well as you can follow me on all social media platforms, Danny Fitness 1.
It was my first pro-am. They had pro-ams at the time.
Yeah.
So I was an amateur in the pros. The lineup in the pros, there's probably like, I think there was 4 or 5 World's Strongest Man athletes in that show competing.
Okay.
And it was a local comp to Wisconsin. So I'm like, I got to do it.
Yeah.
And I got to show up.
I got to represent.
Right.
Yeah.
I ended up taking second in that show.
Okay.
And I lost to Dave Austin. He only beat me by half a point. And I was like 20 years old at the time.
Okay.
That was probably like, that was where I like looked at it and I took a step and like, wow, I think I got this.
Yeah.
And then I don't think it was long after that I turned pro and then I was already right there.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So then have you, because for them listening too, trying to keep up with like the different competitions and stuff. So you've done World's Strongest Man.
World's Strongest Man was the biggest one.
Yeah.
The Arnold's in Australia.
Okay.
Giants Lives.
Nice.
I think that's it for the big ones that are still around.
Okay.
Official Strongman Games. Technically,
Yes.
I was the first. That was like the first year of that.
Okay.
World Deadlift Championships.
Okay. Nice.
That's probably it for the big ones.
So to this day, is that still that's not still your max, the one that you did the record for, or that is? Like,
No, currently it's 926.
I was about to say, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
love
I
that.
really want to get that 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to get the 1,000.
Logan's like shaking his head like, I don't understand. Like, no,
It's just more nowadays. It's just more my body like staying together. Just the injuries have piled up over the years.
Right.
So it's just kind of working around that and figuring it out.
Yeah, adapting and overcoming for sure. What has been like the worst injury? Like, what was the one that had you down the longest, like the most mentally taxing?
I don't think any of them really had me down because I'm pretty big about and stubborn about working around any injury.
Right.
But probably my pec. So I tore it. The muscle is 60% off of the tendon.
Okay.
And I did that like 6 weeks before the Arnold in Australia.
Oh man.
But thankfully, like it doesn't really affect my overhead.
Okay.
So I was able to just kind of gut it out.
Yeah.
That one was pretty bad. I would say that one would be the worst one.
Okay. Gotcha. Was there any moment that you were like, I don't know if I'll be able to go, or you're like, I'm going regardless? Like I
For
gotta
that
be
show?
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going regardless.
I was about to say. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's so cool. But so not the Arnold that's in Columbus, like you
Yeah.
just did that.
Yeah, that one I never did. I
Okay.
never did that one.
How come? Just like it didn't.
That one at that time when I was competing, it was that was probably the biggest important show at the
That's what I
time.
was about to say. Yeah, that's what I always was trying to get to.
And at that time in that era, it was the weights were so extreme to where you have to be big. You have to be Brian Shaw big to
Right.
to even be there realistically. So after that, the next one down was the Australia
okay.
one.
Okay, cool. So what is is deadlift your favorite thing to do? Or are you better like you like the overhead or stones or?
Honestly, I like all the events, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably say stones. To be honest, more so just because it works more.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a deadlift, just a little harder.
100%. Literally, like, I'll never forget when I had my first like tutorial with it and had to and like did the tacky, you know, and stuff, whatever. And it was sick. Like I liked it, but the very first comp that I did, literally, I had never heard of strongman a week prior, and so like Blake was like, "Yeah, let's go." And so me, Matt, and Blake went, and I had to do stone over bar. So I'm like, I watch those videos and I like cringe because I'm like, I had no technique really. I'm just like muscling it up, just like standing and just doing it, like whatever. I think it was 160 pounds.
Yeah.
So. And so anyway, I was just doing it for reps, and then finally it started getting heavy, and I was like, okay, what do I do? What's the technique? Like as I'm in that minute, you know. And but yeah, to go full deadlift, squat, grab, overhead. I mean, it hits everything.
Right.
But I really did like it. What I didn't appreciate was that nationals doing stone to shoulder. That was not fun.
No.
That was not.
That was probably when it was newer too, huh?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I would say, because that was 2019, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like that's when it was started to become more of an event.
Yeah. Yeah, just uncomfortable, you know, like just whatever. But my probably like, I really loved the Bartos dumbbell, you
Yep.
know, whatever, and like doing that.
Yep.
That was always cool. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it. I don't like the other one. That's like it's the same implement, but it's
Yep.
like open, like a the cylinders, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That one was
Yep.
always harder for
Plate
me.
loadable one.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, hate that one. But no, like the Vardos was good. But yeah, any type of like carry, I was like really like I loved.
Farmer's carry, yoke carry.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. That was like probably my best. I think would be like a farmer carry frame, like that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed just picking and like running with things.
I feel like a lot of women tend to do really good in those events.
Yeah.
I think it's just because naturally women have stronger hips.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. But when it came to the overhead stuff, that's when it was like,
Yeah.
Like single arm was all right, but a freaking log, like just the pressure on your chest and everything and like the back. I mean, it was wild, man. I would not stop. When I used to train, I didn't leave until I hit everything. You know what I mean? Because I trained how I performed, right? So it was, for me, it was like, I'm going to keep going, whatever. And that one was, like I said, I never had to do a super heavy. There was only like one that I had to do super heavy that was at like nationals, but I think it was like a 190, and I'm like 180, but then put on some weight. So like whatever. And that was probably that was the only event that I ever didn't complete, like zeroed.
Right.
That I did. So I felt good about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was rough, for sure. So tell me, like, with your just like lifestyle now and everything, what is something that like, do you take time now to have like some more free time and do things, or
no, we're busy. We're super busy.
You're just always on.
Yeah. And if we get, I tend to, if we don't have something going on, I like almost fill it with something. Like I have to fill my time with something.
Okay. Do you feel like that's your personality trait?
Yeah.
That's how like I've always been too.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is a lot with like competitors and like high energy and like a little bit of ADHD for me, like, of having to do something, or you feel like you're not, because when you work for yourself and people listening that have a 9 to 5, they kind of don't get this either, of like, you got to create things out of thin air sometimes.
Yeah.
Like
you never know when you're going to get paid again.
Right.
So you just feel like you got to be grinding.
Yeah. So how is that like? Because right now, are you married? Are you really married?
No, I mean, we might as well be married. We have a baby and a bank account.
I was about to say, okay. So basically, because I was just like, when people were asking who I went with, I was like, I said Adam and his wife. I didn't know, but I was like, but she's super cool, was so sweet.
Yeah.
And then she, like, how did y'all meet? Because like, I love a good romance story.
Yeah.
So make it good.
It's just social media.
No,
just social media.
No, I can't with you guys.
Yeah.
What do you tell me?
It was nothing crazy. It was social media.
Like you slid into her DM, she slid into yours. Like, what happened?
She would have a better idea of this. I don't remember.
Okay.
I think I might have followed her.
Okay.
And then she followed me back, and then I might have DM'd her.
Okay.
Or it might have been completely the opposite.
The opposite.
I can't. I don't know. She's gonna watch this and she's gonna call me out if I'm wrong.
Right, Riley. We need to know the full story. No, but because I wonder, like, because when you came here, I mean, it's 2022 or whatever. So like, because how would she have kind of followed you? Like, were you? Because she does like
just
tattoo.
going out downtown and stuff like that. I'm sure.
Okay, gotcha. Because she's a tattoo artist.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. So and she does like celebs, right?
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah, she's one of the best.
Yeah, that's so sick. I have no tattoos, but it looks cool.
Well, now you know somebody when you want that.
Right. No, she seems like she just loves it, and that's awesome.
Yeah, she's
for her.
amazing.
So she's always worked for herself too?
No, that's very recent. Okay. Yeah, she recently kind of went off on her own. She used to work at a place under somebody, just kind of a bad deal, and then she kind of did her own thing.
Okay, so you kind of put that entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
I
definitely.
love that. Setting the example.
But she's been wanting to do that her whole life, so yeah.
That's awesome. And so y'all met like social media and everything like that. I mean, and then like what?
She came over on a Wednesday night and just never left.
Are you serious?
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to her about that.
She says the same thing.
How does that work? How does that happen? Oh, that's so funny. Well, I love that. I'm so glad.
We clicked like right away. We just kind of clicked right away.
And because like growing up, you didn't really have a lot of relationships because you were so focused on your stuff and everything.
Yeah, I was married and divorced.
Okay.
Went through all that crap and I think. Not that I regret it or anything. It's just what I learned from that going forward. Kind of, I know it made my life better nowadays. Going through all of the bullshit and kind of learning more about yourself, what you want, what you need in life.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely helped.
Okay. No, I love that you can reflect back on that. And
Yeah,
you know
you
what I
have
mean?
to.
And
You
well,
have to.
some people don't though.
I
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and they keep living in that whatever. So, so I think that's really important to hear from like a male's perspective
Yeah.
on that. Did you find yourself at all like was it hard for you like after like the divorce and stuff like that to like get back out there, or were you like, no, I feel, you know, like I'm ready? Or
honestly, I had zero anticipation on meeting a female at all.
you were like done?
Yeah, I was
Like,
done.
okay.
I was just kind of fixated on training, growing my business.
Yeah.
I had this kind of standard of girl that if it were to happen, this is what it is.
Right.
And somehow Riley ended up in that
Yeah, I love it.
in that spot, and I'm thankful for it.
Yeah.
And then we had our baby.
Yeah. That's awesome. So
yeah.
then were you like, because like did she kind of like want to be a mom, or was she like before
Oh yeah,
that? Like
that was one of her number one goals.
like y'all talked about it. And
Oh
you're
yeah,
like, okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
Because I always, it's interesting to always ask, because like some of my female clients that come on here, they're like, nope, never planned on it, but they're now they got like 4 kids, you know.
Right.
So it's always an interesting, you know.
Yeah.
And some people, like especially males and stuff, it's like I think like pretty much I'd say like 99% of them that've come on, like I've always wanted to be a dad.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And so it's very special too to have like a little girl.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's awesome. So
Yeah.
and I mean, my dad's relationship is really beautiful, and like wouldn't trade.
Yeah,
for
I'm
the
excited
world.
to have that relationship with Rosalie.
I love that. And then are y'all's parents like? Do you have like family close by?
No, my
Still?
family's up in Wisconsin, and Riley's family is in Pennsylvania. I think her family, they're looking at moving here
Okay.
to Nashville, which will help a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Have
Yeah.
some more support.
Yeah,
And everything.
yep.
So then, and she's from here or no? Is she from Nashville?
Riley?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, you said
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. So she grew up there, and then what brought her here? Like the tattoos?
No, she moved here after school for a different business, a different job. Moved her here, like relocated her here.
Okay.
And then she got into tattooing.
Okay. Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. Did you what was schooling for you? Did you go to college, or you?
No, I did. I went to a tech and took like welding classes and stuff like that for our family company.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, explain to me that warehouse that I went to, because like the guy was like, was he doing stuff? Like he was like cutting up stuff?
Yeah, so that my friend Jason Campbell, he's the one that owns Surplus.
Okay.
That's just one of his employees that were in there welding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Because I was like, I don't know. I didn't ask questions. I'm
Yeah.
like, whatever. Honestly, I've seen Stranger Things when we did Strongman, so I was like pretty like used to it, you know?
Yeah.
But I thought that was funny. I'm like in a Home Depot, like, and there's the yoke and there's the sandbags. And I'm like, I told Cody and then this, I was like, I had to actively be like, I was like a kid in a candy shop.
Yeah.
Like from going to Gunners and being
Yeah.
so overstimulated
Yeah.
of like,
All the equipment.
literally, I didn't do any of the machines.
Yeah.
I'm still like, what are you doing? Like, why? Because I was so overwhelmed. But literally, I was like, oh, Colin's lifting a barbell? Yes, I know a barbell.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know the dumbbells. And then I'm literally like, there's so many cool things in there I didn't even get to try. And trying to go back and talk to everybody, you know?
Yeah.
And then to be like, to go there and I'm like, this platform with the deadlift, and I was like, oh, this is everything. Thank you. So simple. But when I looked around, I'm like, okay, there's sandbags. I could totally and I was like, he's doing the yoke back there. I could do that. And I was like, just be chill. Like just be cool. Like I had to withhold myself.
When
from,
was the
like,
last
doing
time you did strongman? Before that?
When was it? So it was 2020. I did Mammoth, and that's where I got injured.
Mm-hmm.
And then that fall, I still was like, I was in disbelief. Like I was like, I'll be fine. It was 2020, and I was still back squatting almost 300 pounds. Like I was doing that the week after I got injured, and then finally I worked with like Stuart McGill, like virtually.
Yep. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. And so he like went through and like was like, you need to walk and do these exercises, and then the world shut down, and then I was like, cool, I'll walk and do these exercises, and then I still was like, they ended up having a strongman comp that fall or something. I was like, oh, I'll just like try it and do it,
Yeah.
or maybe it was winter. And I just couldn't be competitive. And I just felt like that's what made me so good. You know what I mean? Because I was just like, always like, I'm going to hit it. I'm going to whatever. And I just kind of jumped into it and tried. And then I was like hurt afterwards. You know what I mean? So I just didn't have the best experience.
Right.
So I would say then, so the end of 2020 was the last time. And then 2021, it was about July, so about 6 months. That was like during that time where I was trying rehabbing, but video went viral, the tire flipping, whatever. And so I was like, I gotta like start doing stuff. So I started back over,
Right.
body weight, core exercises to keep my back strong. I mean, everything. And then I was like, let me get with this bodybuilding coach that someone referred to me, and he could help me with my diet. And when I did that, took about 8 months of that, and then he was like, we can prep you for a show. And so then that's what got me into bodybuilding, essentially, the injury, because I was like, I still want to lift, but just maybe not 400, 500 pounds regularly. And then yeah, so I don't know, I think about it so fondly of like, I would love to even like try it. It really would just be like going in there and seeing how my body did, and then just finding out after.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I was like, oh, if I lift the sandbags, but I'm like, but then if you do, and like, let's say I feel bad the next day, let's say my leg goes numb. Well, then I won't know, was it the sandbags or was it the deadlift? So I did the deadlift. Let me tell you, I was wrecked that night because I think more socially, just from talking to everybody and whatever. I was exhausted, but I felt so fulfilled, so fun. And I was just like, just really, at peace with it. And so then when with my the deadlifts and stuff, like the next day I felt fine. Like I wasn't hurt, nothing. So I was kind of like, I could do some things, but I just feel like there's certain things that would trigger it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But like I said, I try to always be like, leave that kind of door open. So I never know what could happen, like randomly I'll go run a 5K and like, oh, like I can still run. Like, that's nice. You know what I mean? Or I'll be like, oh, like I can do this. And like, and today I was doing some kettlebell stuff and it's like, that's fun. But it is hard because I have that competitive spirit. So like, I genuinely want to be like, do it, And you know what always kind of is in my head, which is so weird and so random, but like, how like Ronnie Coleman, how he says like he wishes he would have gone heavier.
Yeah.
It kills me every time. Like, you know what I mean? Because he's like, I mean, if people who don't know who that is, go look him up. But like, because he won the Olympia like what?
Eight times.
Like 8 times. Yeah. And he's now like, I'm not going to say like crippled, but he's, I mean, it's hard for him to move around and just do basic.
He's got a walker and everything.
Yeah. So it's like, but he's like, I wish I would have gone.
He doesn't regret it though.
But exactly. Yeah. And that's that thing of like, man, I wish I would have gone heavier. Like, so anyway, so that's where I'm kind of at with that. But, but how is your, cause I always like to ask, like, in terms of, because Gunnar probably told you like a little bit about, I don't know if he said like this girl's coming in or whatever to come work out and everything, but were you just like, oh, like she's like strong, or like what was kind of your impression? Because like Dandy Fitness and stuff, like did you?
Honestly, I didn't know anything about you. He just said, hey, Jen's coming, Widerstrom to come train.
Yeah.
And he said I invited Danny. I knew he came up and did your podcast.
Yeah.
And then I actually was more excited about it because we've never met prior to that, and obviously you're in the strongman world too.
Yeah.
So I was excited in that regard.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were super strong or not or anything.
Yeah, so what was the verdict?
I mean, you were strong. I mean, you just jumped in on Collins Rows and did 185 for like a warm-up.
185?
It might have been more than that.
Bruh.
It might have been 205. I don't remember.
When I say I like blacked out, because literally, like I said.
I think it might have been 205.
Was it really?
I'm pretty sure there was a plate.
You're making something up. I thought it was like, look, my math is not good. My girls know that. We got to always double check. We got a calculator out. Like, but like literally the other day I thought my girl was doing 185 and she pulled 215. And again, she could handle it, but it was hilarious. I was like, let me like wind that back.
Recheck that.
Yeah, let me just recheck this. And again, this is like 5:30 in the morning, so that's why. But anyway, point is that he was doing those rows, but like by the time I got done talking to Jen, I was like, oh, let me go back over there. I didn't want to leave him. And I try to be mindful when I'm working out, especially with men too, because I'm like, even with the deadlift, I'm like not trying to hold y'all up, but also like I can do the weight up to a certain point. So I was trying to be mindful. And yeah, so I just like, well, let me put my belt on just to be sure, because I don't know how much this is. But I thought it was like, no, I thought it was like 135.
We'll have to look back.
Yeah.
I think that was the set prior to that, because we had I know we had 25s on there.
That like makes my day. I love it. Just like body weight, it's fine.
It's funny.
It's casual. But yeah, because sometimes too, I think, and with you, like I don't know if you've gone through this, but because you kind of looked like you were like underestimated maybe because you're smaller size and things like that for the sport you're doing. Do you ever feel like it's like hard to know how you're perceived, as in a sense of when you go to do like comps or when you show up places, like when you're first coming up? Like, because like people always assume you were going to be like weaker or
Yeah.
like.
Honestly, I never thought about it.
Yeah.
I never thought about it. Honestly, I think it was just a confidence thing because I practiced so hard and put so much into it. I was just confident in what I was doing.
Yeah.
No, so I never really thought about what people thought about it, to be honest.
Right. No, and I totally get that. I always just look at it of like, because for me, I have no gauge, really, because that was what was so hard when I got injured. It was like the chiropractor would be like, okay, well, just make sure, not my current chiropractor, this other guy, but it was like, make sure you, like, don't go heavy. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, what do you...
What's your heavy and my heavy?
But do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and I wasn't trying to be like a whatever. I was simply like, okay, so are we talking like, don't go over like the barbell? Or are we talking like, don't go over, 225? Like, what are we saying? And so it was so challenging for me that really like, I got very like warped in a sense of like, I don't need, even with bodybuilding. Well, I was like, hey, like, you're not giving me weights to do. You're just telling me I'm writing this basic plan. So like, what do you want me to do? And they're like, oh, like what's heavy? And I'm like, you got to understand, when I was doing strongman, they were like, pick it up. I didn't even know the weights.
Just pick it up.
Yeah. It'd be like 400 pounds. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, I just never doubted it. I never, whatever. I pulled the truck, bent the steel bars, like all this stuff. So it was always like, I just didn't have that range. So it was very challenging.
Yeah.
And even today, like, and even like now kind of being like, really, what is my threshold? Because I know I can do, and jump in and do cool stuff.
Right.
But I'm also like, should I?
Right.
You know what I mean?
You gotta ride that fine line.
It's literally the finest line. and I am like, I want to like I'm always like 2 steps over.
Yeah.
So I gotta like reel myself in. So that's why I felt proud about like going with you guys and being able to have that time and like 435 Matt was like, when was the last time you did that? And I was like, Matt, probably with you, and it was probably in like I said, I mean literally years ago.
Right.
So, which was so cool.
Just jump into it and do it.
Yeah, and it was great, and I felt good about it. But I knew in myself that I was like, if I get above, because I knew the next progression would have been probably, I mean, with the jumps would have been like 465 or like, you know what I mean? So I was like, at that point, if I do that, or not 465, but 365, if I do that, then I'm gonna want to go to 400.
Right.
And I was like, no.
Gotta stop.
Yeah,
now.
I literally was like sitting there talking to Sully, and I was like, take the belt off. Because once I take the belt off, I'm done.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, just walk away. You know? So anyway, so I feel good about it. I feel proud. This is growth, like maturity, right? But all that to say, I'm still down to come and lift with you guys anytime. Like you'll have me. So, but yeah. And I think that what's important is for people to know, like, that no matter like your size, and like same with me, that's what I was getting to about the whole like perception thing. It's like not to focus on that, but it's always nice of like when you're in a room with people who have done amazing things or like things you haven't done, like with Jen and stuff, like would have killed to go on like Gladiators and and the things she's done. It's like you never really know like how you're seen. If is it strong? Is it this? Is it whatever?
Right.
So a lot of times in the community, it's been like a negative response and things like that. So it was really special to see like a bodybuilder, a pro strongman, celebrity trainer all be like, man, like really strong. Like
I think when you reach that level, you know, each craft is different, obviously, but you kind of know the sacrifice that each of you went through. So it's you appreciate it,
it's mutual respect.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. And like I really am in a season where it's like I only spend time and do things that are like exceptional, and I've always been like that. Like I even with like restaurants and stuff, like you know what I mean, like and so it's one of those things of getting to have those times and having those conversations, and like I want to be with the best people.
Yep.
I want to be around, and find that, and even if it takes longer and there's a longer time that I'm by myself without it, like it's okay,
Right.
And I think that it's important for people to know that, because I feel like they rush into things and then they're just like are with groups because they feel like they should be. Right.
Yep.
And
it took me a lot of years to kind of actually I should reword it. I've been burned enough times by enough people to realize you need to surround yourself with the right people and just exit the bad ones out.
Do you feel like you've been able to like forgive those people, or do you feel like it's
I don't forgive.
Yeah.
I don't forgive. I deal with it because it's part of growing, right? And I just learn from it. Yeah. That's about it.
Okay, I gotcha. I hate that that's happened though.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
It's part of life. Everybody's been in that situation, I'm sure.
Sure. But I think it's also it's hard when like you are like not an, I won't say anomaly, but kind of, you know, with things of like people like kind of discounting you out and whatever. And then for you to be like, no, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that people have a hard time in this society of one, not loving themselves,
Yep.
hence my whole brand. And so it's again, that's projection of, well, like if they can't do it, they have no idea how you could do it.
Right.
And that's what I found a lot of. Like it was always a constant thing of like that. And I was like, regardless of what you say, like regardless if you don't support me pulling trucks or me in a bikini, it's irrelevant because I'm going to do what
you want to do.
Yeah. And with the path I think God's leading me on,
Yep.
you know, and I think that all of this has taught me so much about myself and things really about myself. Like, yeah, I learned about other people and their things, but of, you know, one that like, I'm really good with extreme sports, but I am a very extreme person. So if it's
same.
not checked,
Yeah.
I have to like be real back in, you know?
Yep.
And that's why I think it's so special to have like a partner or someone that, you know, can hopefully, I'm sure Riley does this for you, but like can hopefully bring you and like kind of level you a second.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. She keeps my wheels together for sure.
That's awesome. What's something that like she, like what, is it like, because are you the kind of like, couple that she's like more chill and you're more high strung, or is it like she's like, how is that?
She's more level-headed than I am,
level-headed.
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. But she's kind of the glue of everything. She holds everything together.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so special. But yeah, because like I said, I think that a lot of times with people that aren't super close to you, like they'll just be like, oh, Adam will go for broke, you know, like and they expect it kind of maybe.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
have you dealt with that at all? Like with when you became pro, like, you know,
I mean, there's definitely pressure on you, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So you're always going to be kind of, people are looking at you like, oh, what's he going to lift next? And they think you can always just lift 900 pounds every single day.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of social media.
Yes.
I think social media is a big driver of that. So I think it's just more of the pressure of people always wanting you to perform and perform at your best and then some.
Yeah.
That was basically all I really went through. It was just that pressure.
How do you deal with it though?
I love the pressure.
You
Yeah, I love it.
every negative that I try to get him on, I'm like talking about. He's like, no, but I live for it.
You have to. You have to for that. But I'm just that type of person.
Yeah.
You know.
No.
I'm an adrenaline junkie.
Okay, I feel that. Do you feel like this comes from a place of like with grounding and stuff? Is that from a spiritual belief, or is it just something you've always had in you, or like what is?
Just always in me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of when it comes to like new, like I guess with like, I mean, with future goals, I mean, your goals really right now is just to be the best for your clients and stay fit.
Continue to grow my client base.
Yeah. Because you don't compete anymore, right? You said?
No, I'll still dabble in some records here and there, but as far as full competition shows, like I have no interest in any of that. Nor does my body.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely just grow a business, family, anything that Rosalie needs, obviously.
Right. Was there a pivotal moment? I do want to talk about that, about the injury real quick. Like, was there a pivotal moment when you were like, all right, I'm a pro. I've had these things happen. I got to like throw in the towel, like with the, like to stop competing.
So yeah. So after Worlds in 2018, I placed mid-pack, and I remember like, oh, I just need to get bigger. I just need to get heavier. So I like put on quick weight, like 20 pounds quickly. I was up to like 290.
Okay.
And super unhealthy.
Yeah.
Super unhealthy. I'd wake up going to work, tying my shoes, and all of a sudden I'd get nosebleeds from my blood pressure being so high.
Oh my gosh.
It was just bad. And I kind of like realized, I'm like, what am I doing this for? I'm not going to win the show. Like,
Right.
that's just what it is. Like, we have to be realistic.
Yeah.
I could place a few places better, maybe be top 10 in the world.
Okay.
What am I really going to get out of doing that?
Right.
Other than what I'm doing, the place, how I just placed.
Right.
And once I kind of realized that, it was kind of like the fire that I had for so many years was kind of like dimmed out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. You had just your priorities shifted.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I kind of did that. And it was hard to like walk away from it because you still want to do it.
Yeah.
So that's why the coaching, I even got more involved
Yeah.
because now they're my fix, you know?
Yes. No, I totally
So when I
that.
get to see my clients succeed, it's kind of my fix of
Yeah.
the competing.
No, I think that's awesome. And it's a great way to have that to again turn the kind of negative into a
Yeah.
positive. Was
Yeah.
the high blood pressure, like the nosebleeds, all that stuff, was that because of like steroids and things, or was that
Just all the overeating, steroids,
Okay.
just all the shit
just
you got
hard on your body?
Yeah, yeah.
I gotcha.
And there's healthy ways to do it, you know, obviously. That was just the way I did it.
Okay, I see. And then at that time, how old were you? That's 20.
Like 20, let's see, 2018. 26,
Okay.
I think.
Gotcha.
27.
Yeah. But again, you'd been in it since you were 15. So, I mean, like, the span was still, 11 years,
Yeah.
over
I
a
think
decade.
this year will be 20 years of competing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, do you just, like, be like, wow, like, can you believe that all the stuff that you've been able to do? Like,
Looking back at it, like when I kind of think about it, I'm like, wow, I actually, like, it's a lot
Yeah.
of things in different places that I've traveled and everything.
for sure. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
So, and your brother and brother-in-laws and all them, like, they stopped competing? Like,
Yeah, they stopped. They honestly stopped kind of when I kind of turned professional.
Okay.
Had kids,
Okay.
you know, businesses, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And back then, I mean, it's kind of now is when the money is there. Back then, there was
Oh,
no money, so it's not
right.
like you could do it full time.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's what we all had talked about. Cause I'm like, where do I see this going? You know what I mean? Especially for
Yeah.
females and like not, you know, there wasn't a lot of access to different things, and or you had to be just heavyweight because like they didn't want to see the middleweights do
Right.
any of the stuff or whatever. And I was just always like, man, like you know, you want to see a path, like you want to see like where can we what goal are we getting to and like
Right.
get there, you know. But it has grown a lot, and I know a lot of girls who've stayed in it and continue to keep going, keep fighting, which has been awesome, and guys as well, which is really cool. But yeah, so then I was gonna ask you, because I asked this to everybody, what is something that you love about your body?
Man. Probably my mental toughness. Does that count?
That does count.
There you go.
That's great.
I'm gonna go with that.
I love that.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It's always interesting to hear, you know,
Yeah.
like people are usually, it's like either they're grateful for their body or
Yeah.
really it is like one part of it that they're just like, man, I've always loved my legs. They're so strong. Yeah, things
Yeah.
like that. But that's great.
Yeah.
And I think that again, it's going to help you with every endeavor
100%.
that you do.
Yeah.
And yeah. And like I was telling Colin and Cody both, and I've said this to Gunnar as well, like it is so important to have coaches and male trainers that don't abuse their titles. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And that
Yep.
treat all of their, you know, clients with respect. And we talked about that kind of at the workout too
Yeah.
and stuff. And so I really am just appreciative of that.
Yeah.
Cause I feel like it's gotten a lot very sloppy,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
here in the Middle Tennessee area and stuff. So it was so refreshing to see you guys just like,
You have to take care of your clients. Like,
yeah.
they're paying your bills.
Yeah, 100%. But
Yeah.
also, people take that for granted, though.
Yep, 100%.
You know,
I
and
see
are
it. I see it all
negligent.
over the place. I see trainers texting and having conversations on their phone while they're supposed to be training
Right.
people.
Exactly. Well, and also, I was going to ask you about their eye, because you told me, was that you that had told me something about your eye as well with my eye?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
What
I don't even know what it's called. I was born that way.
Yeah,
So like it's just blurry. Like I just don't have great vision.
in the right eye or both?
Right eye.
Oh, right eye. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you'd said that because I was telling you about my stuff with the cornea scarring, and I was just like, wait, what? And actually, then when I was talking to a client, she said that same thing, that she was born with that as well.
Yeah. And I think to correct it, they would have had to have caught it at a young age to put an eye patch over it or something like that
Okay.
for it to like work and strengthen while the other one kind of just took over.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure. I just kind of dealt with it.
Yeah, isn't that wild how
Yeah.
our bodies though adapt and
Yeah.
everything like that?
Yeah.
So it's like, so I get that too in terms of like the, you know, with the injuries and all the things and stuff. That it's like you want to be like, you want to believe in your body, you know, and you want to believe that it can come back and it can overcome anything, you know, that happens and stuff. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's so cool to, like I said, hear how you've kind of just dealt with all of this.
You just deal with it.
Yeah.
Move on.
But yeah, and
Yep.
continue to keep moving forward
Yep.
and stuff. So when you said that, as we close out and everything, like what is some, I guess you'd say like advice to someone who maybe doesn't have that mental toughness? Like how would you know what I mean? Like how would you help them to get that? Like what would you say?
You got to start somewhere. So
Yeah.
push yourself in workouts, start pushing yourself a little harder. It's a hard thing to kind of teach.
Right.
I learned it in wrestling when I was young. Really not having a choice in wrestling. You just shut up and run.
Right.
That's just what
Yeah.
it was. And having the brothers around, kind of take the take the excuses out of it.
Yeah.
I always tend to ask myself, so if I have a goal, whether it's a financial goal, a lifting goal, it doesn't matter what it is, whatever it is I'm doing, I always ask myself, what I'm doing right now, is it going to help me reach that goal? And if the answer is no, you shouldn't be doing it. I say that a lot to like diet clients.
Yeah.
If you shouldn't be eating it, if it's going to get you to the goal, whatever the goal is,
Right.
Yeah. So just trying to keep those little reminders in your head. I do it to myself all the time. I have to remind myself all the time.
Yeah.
And having like, we talked a little bit about Brian Shaw around my brother-in-law's, any, decision I made when my head was down about competing, it was, well, what'd they think if they saw this? Am I doing the right things?
Right.
Because a lot of people don't like doing the hard work when people aren't watching. They just want the Instagram video, or when people are around, they're going to work hard. It's the real professionals are the ones that are working harder when there's nobody around.
100%.
Yeah.
No, I love that so much. And I was going to say too, you have all these different shows and these different things coming up and everything like that. Do you have anything, like, are you wanting more clients? Is that kind of your goal too? Like, continue to keep growing, or is it like are you capped right now, or like what's up?
I always will take clients, especially online, just because you're always going to have a couple that'll drop depending on if they're off season, depending on that.
Yeah.
So I always, kind of accommodate for that.
Do you take excitement in it, like about like
Yeah.
not knowing what what the next month is going to be like, or whatever?
And I truthfully hate when I see coaches post, I have 3 spots available.
I know.
In my head, I'm
It's
like,
such a
no, if
marketing
10 people
technique.
lined up at your door, you would take all 10 of them.
Yes,
So
100%.
I hate when people do that.
I know. And that's the thing too. That's why I'm like, guys, I'm so real on my social media that I'm like, what it is. So like, if you want to train with me, then like, let's do it.
Yeah, let me know.
Here's the link. Here's whatever. I have put out all the information for you. Because so many times people be like, oh, I just thought that you were too busy. Or like, oh, I thought whatever. I'm like, no, you stop the nonsense. Of course I can
We
make
all
it
have
work.
time.
Yeah, exactly.
time.
And especially with like you said, with the online, like I do food accountability coaching. Like there's like all of these different ways, that people can work with me.
Right.
And that's the thing, is because I feel like my purpose is to help serve. Like I've always been like that, even from a young age. So like I'm supposed to help people. So I'm like, you just have to be willing to let me help you.
Right. Tell me what you need. Let me know what you need, and I got you.
Exactly. So I love that. Well, okay, Adam. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was
Absolutely.
awesome. I really appreciate you. And until next time.
Thank you so much.